I did gymnastics growing up. So I did gymnastics from 6 until I was 16. And I've always been very competitive. Not maybe so competitive with gymnastics, but almost anything else in my life. Like I would constantly be racing someone or making up something to compete in, whatever it was, who had more pencils in their pencil case, or making my brother, race me to the next lamppost. And then when I was 16, that's kind of when I quit gymnastics, and I started trying out different things. Like I tried track for a year, and I loved training track, but I didn't find like a single event that I really loved. And I thrive on waking up with a goal in mind and a purpose and working towards something and becoming better and wanting to become the best at something. And I was just training at track. And even though I liked it, there was something missing.
I became a financial trader coming out of school because I thought that's what I wanted to do. I was a business major and my dad was in business. It seemed to be the natural progression I wanted to do. When 9/11 happened, I had a real soul-searching moment, and I realized that it's that corporate race and that monotonous day-to-day and living in a cubicle and pushing money around the world was not something I was really interested in. So I took a year off and kind of did some soul-searching and realized I wanted to do something that had more meaning, contribute to society, impact others, leave a legacy. And I eventually came upon becoming a trainer, not CrossFit at the time, just became a personal trainer. I was into fitness and doing triathlons. And in that world of fitness training, I found CrossFit organically, like just searching the internet one night. And after 3 months of doing CrossFit, after I found it, with my clients and with myself, after myself personally doing it for 3 months, I was in better shape than doing 3 years of Ironman training.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just kind of felt a little lost. I didn't want to go back to gymnastics, and I didn't want to keep training track. That was the summer of 2011, and that's the summer that Annie won the CrossFit Games. And she's from Iceland too, so it was all over the news, all over the media, that this girl won the CrossFit Games. And it was on the news, and my mom and my grandma were kind of sitting there going like, why don't you try that? Like, you could be good at that. So that's what I did. I called the gym that she was at. She was at a gym called Boot Camp, which did boot camp and CrossFit. And I was there. In my mind, I was there the next day. I don't know if it was the next day or the same week, but it was pretty fast, and I loved it right away. And for the first year, I did boot camp 3 times a week, CrossFit 4 times a week, and I absolutely loved it. I found something that I wanted to compete in.
She had a mustache. I'm like, you want to take care of that.
When I got into coaching, it was a real thing I was really passionate about, and I became a level 1 trainer for CrossFit seminar staff and traveled around with my wife, and my wife was a games athlete. So I trained my wife at the games, and I was competing on a team at the games. I stepped away from competing on the team and started just training my wife and the team. Chris Spieler, who was also on level 1 seminar staff, and a friend of ours reached out to me and asked me if I would coach him. And of course I said yes. That was amazing. He was like the legend. It was an amazing opportunity. I had no idea what I was doing. And I don't think he had any clue as to what to expect. So it was like, the sport was so new. Nobody really had coaches at the time. At the beginning, I thought of myself and saw myself as more of a programmer. So I would just send him programming. But he's such a good dude, and we got along so well that our personalities matched up, and I became a friend. And if you're programming your friend, you end up coaching and become doing a lot more than just like do these thrusters and pull-ups today. It becomes a more 360-degree approach.
So I'd been doing CrossFit for about 3 weeks when I remember telling Mom that I was going to make regionals. And Mom's like, okay. And I did make regionals that year, and I did make the games that year. I don't really think anyone else believed that I would, and I'm not even sure that I said it that much out loud, but I was going to make the CrossFit Games, and I did. But as soon as I got there, I really didn't belong there. You know, I hadn't been following a training program. I didn't have a coach. I'd never been there before. I was still, you know, I was only a couple months into learning my muscle up. You know, I'd been watching all these guys on YouTube, like studying them. So when you get there, you're kind of starstruck. I really didn't belong, and I didn't have a good time. Kind of like, I don't think this would happen now. I don't think anyone would just enter the sport and make the games. But I could there. And I was just a girl that worked hard, and I guess back then that was enough to make the games. I was a full-time student. I was coaching full-time. I was trying to train for the games, and that's kind of like when I had that, like, check the boxes. As long as I just did the work, I was doing what I thought needed to be done. And I absolutely hated it. And everyone's like, just make it through. Like, I know, like, the first year is boring, just, like, make it through. So that's kind of like what I was telling myself, but I can't imagine doing that for the rest of my life. It's like, I don't want to be doing it now. Why do I want to be doing it later? The next year, I decided to switch to something I switched to law, which is something that I'd wanted to do since I was a kid. I've always looked up to my grandpa a lot. I just wasn't good at law. Even through engineering that I hated, I could still get great grades it made sense to me. But I put so much work into law, and it was the first time I ever failed something in school. It bugged me so much. I believe things happen for a reason. You are where you're supposed to be for a reason. I worked really hard at that year. I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't want to do engineering. Like, law is clearly not for me. So I decided that I was going to take this semester off. I was like, I know I want to do CrossFit, and I don't know what I want to do with school. Like, school's going to wait, and I don't want to put energy into something that I don't even know what I want to do.